Alright, now I'm going to show you how to build an altimeter bay. First we have our tube here. It's 8 inches. So we need to glue this ring on, which will be seen on the outside. And it needs to be in the center. So to make it in the center, measure 3.5 inches in from each side. It's a 1-inch ring. Make a couple of marks. And we'll have to glue this, but we don't want the glue to be anywhere on the outside of the tube. So we're just going to put a real thin smear of glue on the altimeter bay coupler. Make sure it stays between the marking lines you just made. Slide this on. Line it up in the center, and then you want to take a paper towel or your finger or something and get rid of all this glue that's on the edge. If there's any glue left there, you won't be able to get it perfectly close to the body tube. And then we set that aside and let it dry. Next we're going to assemble the bulkheads. You'll have 3 pieces here, 2 large ones and then one that's slightly smaller. And you'll glue the slightly smaller one to one of the larger ones. Again, you don't want the glue to seep out of the edge. So just a small bit is fine. Put it together, and then in your kit you'll have 3 eye bolts. One of them goes in the center, and the other 2 we'll just right now use to align the 3 holes that are on the bulkheads here. Squish that together. Again, I'm just using these as placeholders. 2 of them anyway. The one in the center, you want facing on the eye part to be on the larger disc. Put your washer and a nut. Tighten it down. Doesn't really matter which way it's facing, but we'll go like that. And then since this one does stay here permanently, we're going to use some glue to secure it. You can use Loctite, epoxy, super glue, anything that will really hold it. So I'm here using a reactive pack epoxy. So I gotta mix it up, do this for a few minutes. So I put a glove on to deal with this epoxy. It's not the greatest for your skin. So actually I'm gonna take these off now. My glue's dried enough that it's not gonna shift. So then we'll cut off the corner of the epoxy. And put maybe about half of it around the threads and the nut. Alright, so we'll set that aside and that will cure. Then we'll take one of our other eye bolts and do the same thing to this bulkhead, this single bulkhead. Smooth this out a bit. And we'll let that cure. You take the glove off. And probably should have done this before I glued them together, but you would want to test fit this in your tube. I think ours was just a little on the large side. Yep. So we'll take some sandpaper and just sand down the edges. And you'll also want to sand down the edges on the inside and remove any berms that you have on the inside so it doesn't, when you put the bulkhead in, it doesn't catch. And you want to do both sides because you're never going to be sure which way you're going to be pulling the bulkhead in, or which side. Let's do a test fit, see if we need to sand any more. That seems to go in pretty much perfectly. Alright, now we are going to build the sled for the payload. Got a few parts here. You have your actual sled, 2 brackets for the back that the threaded rods will go through, and this little piece that's kind of shaped like Oklahoma. We'll glue the Oklahoma piece on first, and this will sit on the back here. And this is for a battery stop. You'll put a 9-volt battery right here, loop a zip tie through here, and just so you'll have your 9-volt loop zip tied to the thread, to the sled, and this keeps the battery from sliding around. We'll just use standard wood glue. You can up the strength by using epoxy if you'd like. That glued on there. And then on the other side is where you'll glue these brackets. Smoothing out the glue. Get that nice and tight. And then we let that and our bulkheads dry before we can put in the threaded rods. Now I'm going to show you how to put in our vent holes for the altimeter, as well as the holes for putting in the rivets attaching to this upper body tube. First, to put in our rivets, we have 3 of them, so we'll need to mark where they're going to need to go. I have a template printed out here, so just align it on the template. Mark it off. You'll probably want to use a pencil. We're using a marker because it shows up a little better. And with these marks, we'll take our steel angle here, just draw a line. And since this tube is it's about 3.5 inches on each side of that centering point, we want the rivets to be in the center of that. So we'll mark, take a ruler and mark 1 3/4 inches up from the bottom edge. together, and just so they stay together and they don't shift when you are drilling, we're going to actually masking tape them together. Now it doesn't shift. For the rivets, we'll use a 5/16 or 5/32 inch drill bit. Make sure it's going the right way. And we'll just drill through both layers